know the story of Alicia, why you decided to hire her. Alicia was a little bit different because you've known her for so long. And then I guess both your relationships with Alicia, and then we'll finish off one last question.
So why we hired Alicia is that Alicia and I mean, we're coming up to 9 years of history in terms of working together. And Alicia is someone that when I first met her, like 2012, 13, when I moved back from London, was that she grew up around the corner from me, right? Like we knew each other, we knew the same world, we're the same age. She gets stuff done, like she's just a workhorse of a person.
She's such a doer.
Just a doer. To what we know now through listening to Drew, she's a producer, right, to its extreme. And that's the opposite of me as an inventor. And and those two combinations pair up really well. They work in tandem really well. And so that was Alicia and I for a long time. And as I moved and my career progressed throughout hotels, I took her with me. And because I knew I then had that trusted person I could look at and go, hey, I need this done, can you get it done? When I moved here, she was going through a real tough time in her work. The new GM sort of had a lack of interest in the role. COVID was happening. She was taking the full brunt of all the crap that was going through in the media about that hotel, as it was one of the centre points for the breakouts in Melbourne. And I just kept telling her, like come move here, like move over. Come work with me, I'll find some work for you, like I'm sure I can make it work. I'd love you to come work with me.
I never wanted to move back to New Zealand. I was dead set against it, had been saying it for 10 years, no. He had, we'd been messaging back and forth, he gave me a call and he's like, hey, I've started this business, it'd be great if you would come work for me. And I'm like, no, that would require me to live in New Zealand.
I said to her, move over in January 2021. I'm not ready for you right now. My revenues aren't at the point where I can hire you. I can pay you a salary. It's not consistent enough. And then, because I'd said that, Alicia was like, yeah, that's great. I love that. 2 weeks later, she messaged me saying, I booked my tickets. I'm there in a month.
And then all of a sudden, it was COVID, 5 months down the track, of working in a COVID hotel. I was already kind of over my role at that point. There was no challenge. And I was like, fuck it. Let's do this. Let's go. So handed in my notice at work, bought my plane ticket, handed in my notice for my apartment, sold my car, packed up everything I owned that I could send to New Zealand, sold all of my belongings. And I guess it was like maybe 3 weeks before I was due to fly out. And I said, hey, by the way, I'm arriving on this date. And he's like, what? And at that point I told my parents as well. I'm like, oh, by the way, I quit my job. At the same time, I'm like, shit, better tell them I'm coming back. I need a place to stay.
And so she arrived in August 2020.
About 5 months early.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't pay you, right? And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm coming anyway. I'm going to live with mum. But of course, I said to her, come on in. I'll pay you as much as I can. You can work as a contractor to start with and whatever. And, one thing led to another. She helped me build the business up further. She helped me with a lot of things. And so we compensated her as we could. And then, from January 2021, when I could actually confidently pay her, we started paying her a salary. But I will always have Alicia around me. She's the best. We fight like brother and sister, but that's all out of love. And I couldn't see this business running without her, to be fair.
Yeah. No. Alicia always provides the colour and entertainment. She always brings the fun. But no, because she's always just been I've known Alicia as long as I've known Stan. So Alicia's always just been there. So yeah, she is sort of a bit of a sister, I guess, to us. And Alicia's one of those people that you can sit in a room next to each other in silence without needing any pressure to speak. And she's just one of those comfortable people that you can just hang with. and that's cool. You know, like she can always just be, and yeah.
I guess like what for both of you is Alicia's biggest asset?
Oh, just her ability to just get over shit and do it. That's for me is her biggest asset. Like over the years, Alicia has gone from not knowing really anything about anything in terms of work, like to going, I'm going to learn everything I can about everything.
Become an adult, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started off just doing anything and everything just to get money in my pocket so I can go out and just do fun things. And now I'm more responsible, I'm more career driven, and just really up for challenges career-wise. And I've learned a lot.
For most people who knew Alicia in 2012 when we first met and never got to see her evolve, and they see her now, they don't get it. They're like, who are you? Like, where did you come from? And I think that's the best thing. Like, she's just, like, you guys know that I'm quite hard on Alicia more than I am with the rest of you guys, but she takes each and every one of those times and she learns from it. She becomes better for it.
Because I've been working with Stanley a long time, I've kind of let most things go because I am used to it. I just ignore him. And sometimes I'm not having it. And some of our current staff have seen me snap a little bit. But we get over it. You know, that's something that we're really good at, is separating business from personal. You know, if we have a disagreement at work, we don't then talk about it when we're out having fun, you know, with friends. So that's something that we've always done, because in hospitality you can't take that shit home. Yeah. And that's just how our relationship formed. So yeah, we have disagreements. You know, it's Stan, big ideas guy, and then me being like, what the fuck? I don't know how to do that. But on the other hand, I learn how to do that and problem solve so we can get this idea off the ground. And
she, you know, I sometimes too hard on her, whatever, but she knows that it comes from a place of love and that it does really help. And she's become like, she blows us away. Like, she literally used to run a hotel when I left. Like, the guy that we put in charge after me did bugger all. She was running a hotel. Like, she has all the same knowledge I do.
Yeah, just an innate ability to get shit done.
What about Krupa? Was when you hired after Alicia, so it was you three, and then what was the decision to bring someone else on board?
So we were paying external contractors to do a lot of work, and actually for us as well in our own personal marketing and content marketing. And originally that idea escalated really fast and then changed really fast as well. So we originally wanted someone to take care of all of our internal marketing in terms of my brand and creating content for me. And so we're looking for someone who had an eye for design, someone who could potentially write and do it. But when we did do the interviews and the CVs for Krupa, we knew we were going to hire Krupa before the interviews. Her ability to understand what her brand was what sold us. Like, Krupa knew who she was and her brand, like, to the point, and she still does. She understands Captured and everything that it does.
Curated Instagram.
She
all
is
personal brand.
She understood it. She lived it.
Yeah.
She was multidisciplinary too, like, in terms of the things that she knew. She was a user and creator of socials, which was a big thing. And so when we went to the interviews, it was her job to lose.
I saw this ad on Seek, and I was like everyone else, I was on Seek, and I was like, it was just like such a vague ad, and it just sounded like all the stuff that I like to do, like social media, content, and I was like, cool, I'll apply. I don't even know if the company name was there. I can't even remember if the company name was there or something. And I just applied. And then I got an email to say come for an interview. And then I guess the rest was history.
Yeah, she nailed the interview. Alicia and I were like, fuck, should we just stop these now? Why do we need to keep going through this? We're going to offer it to Cooper anyway. And yeah, that was it. Like, the decision wasn't hard. But in terms of bringing someone else into the business, I've hired thousands of people. So I naively went into it thinking, I know how to do this. This is easy. It's just another hire. I do this all the time. I've hired many people in my career, so what's another one? In hindsight, I realized that that was both the smartest and the dumbest way to look at it, because it was smartest because I got Krupa, but it was the dumbest because I was not ready to hire Krupa. Like, our team and systems and nothing was ready. But I think that was the point, right? Like, Krupa coming in helped shape what the point was, or what the direction was, and I think we couldn't have got there without her.
The first couple of months was really hard for me in the sense that, like, I was the person who had come into this family, like you've said, right? Because Stan and Alicia have known each other for like 10 years or something outrageous like that, right? And then Stan and Claire are partners, and Stan's dad was working in the business at that time. So I was like this person who'd come in who didn't know anybody. So for me, it was quite hard to adjust, and it wasn't because everyone wasn't friendly and, you know, willing. Everyone was great. The vibe is always great, as you know. But I think I always just felt like the new person until like another person comes along, right? You always feel like the new person. And so I felt like the new person for quite a while, by nobody's fault. And then come like 3 months or so, come to the second month, I started spending heaps more time full-time in the office as opposed to working home. But because there was like lockdowns and, you know, all that sort of stuff within like my first month or so of working there, it was really hard, and we didn't have a process for anything, right? There was no process for what we do. And Sam's like, you sink or swim, right? So it was like, he just gave me as many clients as there possibly were that we had signed on. And he was like, just see what you can do. We'll just figure it out. And like, I love a task. I love a good challenge, but it was hectic. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But then we just learned, like, we learned what was great and what works and what doesn't work. We had things that didn't go right, but brushed it off and moved on to the next thing.
From when she started at end of January, start of February, it was not the Krupa that's on the school. Like, not even slightly the same person. Branding wise, 100%. Same pinks and green, like, you know, same Instagram influencer that's here before you. But professionally and emotionally and from a leadership perspective, Krupa has just become a whole new person. And you see it in Captured, Cakes by Captured, you see it in everything that you do. And the ability that Krupa has to take control of situations now. I think one of the real defining moments was when we did the photo shoot for TNN and our suppliers were there, and we took photos with our suppliers, and almost all of them were like, who the fuck is this woman bossing us around and telling us what to do and getting things done, right? And like, it was that moment I realized that, like, okay, like, well, it wasn't the moment, but it was one of the moments that I realized that Krupa, like, knows her place here and that she's comfortable with it. And she nails it.
I never really think of myself as wanting to be a leader. I love working in teams, and I love working with people, and I don't know if that means I love to lead, but I like to make sure we all go together as opposed to I give instruction and then people have to do stuff. Like, I've never wanted to be able to do that. But it's kind of just developed, like, Stan, in all of us, he just puts all of his trust and then just knows that things will get done. And so I think I've kind of grasped that that's his personality and that's what he's going to do to develop us. And it's not because he doesn't care, he doesn't want to look at what we're doing or read the stuff we're doing. It's because he knows that we're good at what we do, and that if shit hits the fan, he will be able to come in help us do damage control and like triage, right? And so I think that's where it's come from. And then like I love public speaking and I love all these things, and so he's just been able to find all these opportunities, and I've been able to take things off his plate, and he's been able to ask me and encourage me to go and just put myself out there.
Alicia's always had my back forever. Whenever I do anything in life and anything in business, Alicia's there behind me, standing there, my biggest cheerleader, helping me execute on what I need. And then I found another person who would do that with us. And what I loved about it was like, both of them challenged me, you know, because Alicia's always challenged me, but then Krupa could do the same. And I think probably it was quite beneficial for Krupa to have Alicia there challenging me alongside her, because she's technically really agreeable, and so it's probably not in her nature.
Technically, it's like the only agreeable person there is.
Yeah, well, yes. So look, it's been really cool, eh? Like it's been, I think we sat here like month 3 before her 12 weeks sort of follow up or whatever, performance report, just thinking, like, who is this woman? Like, where did she come from? Like, the person after 3 months is not the person we hired. You created the process on your own. You did everything on your own. You had you actually had the hardest onboarding of everyone.
Yeah, because the lockdown too, hey? Like,
the lockdown at the start. You're coming into a business where we had nothing. We didn't know who we were.
No structure, procedure for you to follow. Like,
no real product.
Yeah. You were in the middle of like still changing what we were even doing.
We had no idea who we were. There was a massive period of growth as well. Alicia, who'd come on earlier, and my dad before Alicia, they knew us, right? I worked with Alicia, my dad was my dad, all that sort of stuff. So like it was a different environment for them. They just were like, yeah, cool, we know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to do. Whereas like from Krupa, she's like, no, this is my job. Like I have to tell people I work here. Like, you know, so I knew that and I understood it. So yeah, it was a really significant hire for us, and it really dictated the rest of the year.
Like the story of Olivia, you know, she was hired very quickly as well. She was a decision kind of just made, like we need someone, business is going good. Why did you hire Olivia? And I guess the same sort of story behind your relationship with her over the past couple of months.
So first of all, we decided we needed someone in sales. I figured that the greatest weakness to this business is me, that I was the one limiting factor for its ability to grow. And I needed to figure out how to teach someone else how to sell. And I tried many other ways. I had contractors and I had all these other people around the world that we tried to bring on board and also. Anyway, it all cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, and it didn't work. And so I said, no, I need to hire someone internally. I had really mapped out our sales process and was in the process of doing that and then refining it. So I said, yeah, look, I need to hire a salesperson. And then when we had the interview in the group, it was the first time we did a group interview in this business. We didn't do that with you, Krupa, but we did do it with Olivia. It was the first time. It's what we'd always done in hotels. So I wanted to try it here. And from that, Olivia was, so prior to going to those interviews, I spent a lot of time with Drew. And I said, oh, Drew, look, like, this is what I need to do and what I need to achieve. What type of personality do I need? Like, I feel like I need a performer and someone quite out there and gregarious and doing all the social stuff. And as we worked through it, we realized that that's not what we needed, that person wouldn't be right now in the business, and that we actually needed someone who could be unemotional about their sales, sell, hand over to the client managers, and keep moving on. We needed someone who could just let stuff wash off the back and not care about it and not have so much invested. Yeah, right?
Naturally, when they said, okay, come along, it's going to be a group interview, I absolutely freaked. I was like, nope, okay, I don't know what this company is. I don't want to go, interview. It's like nerve-wracking enough as it is going into an interview, but then to be in a room full of other candidates, I kind of imagined it like some sort of like gladiator style. We're all going to be like against each other. Like, what are we going to have to stand up and do a presentation?
Yeah.
I got so overwhelmed. But yeah, I remember like walking into the room. Everyone was super lovely, well presented, and then Alicia and Stan walked in. and we just kind of kicked it off. And I was like, right, we're here, we're going, let's go for it.
And that was it. We nailed
another one of you. You're basically looking for yourself.
I needed someone like myself, and that's the thing with Olivia is that as little as she likes to hear this, her and our identities are identical in terms of our personality and who we are. She's just a lot younger than I am and hasn't had the same experiences I've had, but the way she thinks and her creativity and her intelligence and all the stuff that makes Olivia her is very similar to me. She's just from a different world than I am, right? She just came up in a different world, has different experiences, so it's shaped who she is as well. But during her interview, she was she was almost a little nonchalant, a little bit almost, I don't know, hard to get almost, was probably the right thing, which is kind of like the sales approach that we take, right? Like, I'm not going to force myself on you as a supplier. Like, if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't. And that's how Olivia kind of was.
I remember the first question they asked us, and I decided to go, take it a different approach and actually talk about something that I got completely wrong in one of my roles. And I just remember sitting there going, okay, everyone's talking about, what they've been good at, how successful they were. And here I was just going, yeah, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And what was super funny, this is going to be the funniest part, is that she was dressed immaculately during the interview. She wore this black dress, I still remember, and everyone else was real average, just normal, whatever, corporate. And I remember saying to Alicia, she presents really well as well. So apart from everything else, she presents really well, which was a complete facade, because not that she doesn't present well, but she does not dress like that at all.
I think I have seen this dress.
No, right? I don't even know if she owns it. It's probably her mates.
They never saw it again.
Yeah.
It was my sister's.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
She moved out soon after to the Coromandel, so
yeah. So never saw it again.
No longer wear that dress, never to be seen again.
So she had us, right? She completely fooled us. But yeah, look, her personality-wise, she's exactly the person we wanted. She's exactly the right person for the role of sales. But also, she's multidisciplinary, right? She was account manager for Facebook, so she was used to dealing with lots of customers in that sort of marketing world. She's a creative, she's a bit of an artist. She can draw and paint and all that sort of stuff.
If you're welcoming to it, and you put your hand up to accept different sort of elements, then any position you go into, having said not everyone will allow you, and that's what I love about working here, is that we do have that. It's such an easy sort of gateway to move into different spaces where we feel comfortable and we want to grow. But yeah, I think most roles have, I think it's all about the person and just your desire to learn.
Yeah, and look, so for all those reasons, she was the perfect person for the role, and she's just enough different to all of us that she keeps us on our toes. She's not. Yeah, she's completely different to the rest of us, but also very similar to me in her personality.
In terms of obviously the decision you guys made to hire Shan and Shreya, it might be a little soon for you guys to answer these questions, but what was the conversation that you guys had, and what was the thought process between hiring Shan and especially Shreya, right? Two people in lockdown is not something a lot of people would do.
We'd had these conversations about the copywriter as an essential piece of the business for a long time. And
we trialed all these different contractors.
And have great relationships with them, and they've been great, but it was just too important of a role to have external. And so we knew we needed to get this copywriter in. But at the same time, we'd started doing these discovery sessions more in depth, and we started to realize that we need to really write good stories for people. And so at the time, I also thought, I was in August, or maybe just before July, August, I started to realize that I needed both a copywriter, and that was priority, and I wanted to bring in someone who could do video because I wanted to amp up our content production. I always wanted to get back into doing more video. I just couldn't do it myself. I knew how to use a camera, I know how to edit and all that sort of stuff, but one, I didn't have time, I didn't know how to do the story properly. So we put up the two roles, prior to lockdown, we ended up having the interviews the Thursday before lockdown. So we had 2 group interviews, one for videographer, one for copywriter. And we went into those interviews going, all right, we need to hire some guys. We have this team full of women and we just need to balance that up. And we need to make sure that we get a good copywriter. And so we finished those interviews and I came home and Claire's like, how did it go? Who are you hiring?
Which guy did you get?
Yeah, which guy? And is he a good copywriter? And I said, oh, I found a girl and she's a great videographer. We love Sean because like Alicia and I were in the interview and we're asked, we did group interviews and we're doing activities, and the activity was to write an ad for a law firm. And from the moment it started, Sean was like, legally blonde, like blah blah blah, like throwing out all these ideas, like blah blah blah. There was another girl in the interview who grabbed the whiteboard marker and just refused to do anything. It was like, oh, that's nice, that's cool. Any other ideas? Blah blah blah. And they had 5 minutes, and it was like 4 minutes in, and you could just see like Sean like losing her mind, rips off the whiteboard marker off this girl's hand, and just like writes out this whole story and ad and had it perfect.
In a minute.
And I just looked at Alicia, I was like, just stop the interview, like we're done, right? We found it. And that was real cool because actually like we did this one exercise about you had to interview the other person and tell a story. And tell a story of that interview. So you got a few minutes to interview them, you have to write it on post-it notes. 160 words is all you're allowed. They'll post-it notes so you could barely fit it all on there anyway. And so we built in these these hurdles to overcome. And on the day we interviewed 13 people in total, and only Sian did it properly, which was she actually told us a story like it was reading, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? It came across that way, which is what we wanted. We wanted a story where everyone else told us life events. Oh, this person at this age did this, and they did this, and they did that. Whereas, Sian's was like, one day such and such went down the road and blah blah blah, and it was like this real story, and I was like nailed it. Like we want a storyteller, so that was great.
And you sort of tweaked the role to fulfill like both sort of simultaneously, right?
Yeah, so that came a little bit later because in the same interview day we had another one, 9 copywriters, and Shreya was in that one, and of that one we had a lot of we had a lot of great people, but Shreya kept standing out because of just her expertise and skill that she had, and you could see it. And even when she did that write the story thing, she was the only one to actually write it out properly on the post-it notes and do that whole process properly. Her story was still a good story, it just wasn't the same to the level where Sian had done it in terms of it was a nursery rhyme almost that Sian had wrote, right? Whereas Shreya had wrote an actual story about a person like it could have been put into a newspaper. And so it was a different type of way of telling a story, and that obviously leans into her editorial background in the newspapers in India.
Had you ever done a group interview like that before when you went into interview?
Once.
Yeah.
Once before. But so I'd done it for Zomato, and it was a little different because I kind of felt like this was more hands-on, and it was kind of more, it was slightly uncomfortable and kind of more confrontational as well.
Yeah.
But the one that I did for Zomato, it was more of a group process. So it wasn't like they asked us like individual questions. They kind of wanted to see how we operate like within the team itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that interview, because I had the same kind, like we were like days apart or something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was reading between the lines on like what they wanted from us out of that interview. I was like, is this like a big test?
We did the trial with Shreya for 1 week for one client, and she blew us all away with her speed and the quality of that work for the time that she took to do it, and the first time she'd ever tried it and whatever.
I think it was pretty interesting because initially, like when we'd been interviewed and everything, and Stan had given me like an overview of what would happen if I were to be hired, and he was like, I like to spend at least like a month with the new hire and take them through the process. And I was like, that's great, like fantastic, whatever. And then I was like,
And then
this
it's
gives you
like
like plenty of
24 hours.
yeah. I was, and he's like, you have till Monday to like finish 60%. I'm just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And so it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be fair, to hire her. She knows exactly what we're trying to do. She's done it before. She's multidisciplinary too. She's a photographer as well, which is amazing. You know, she can tell stories as well, which is great. She's an editor by trade. And so, yeah, we got her copywriting right now, and she's got quite a specialist role. But I mean, let's be honest, if she's still copywriting in 6 months, then fuck, we've done something wrong.